Hello and welcome to this supplementary video series on how to clean and maintain your hearing aids. So in a few moments you'll actually be seeing a timesheet which will help you to advance or skip directly to the part of the video which you may need to help solve a particular problem that you've been having. During this session I'm going to be talking about a range of different topics, so all the way from actually changing the batteries of the hearing devices, or maybe charging them in a docking station, to the daily cleaning that's required and any sort of maintenance such as changing the domes, any sort of changing the wax guards, any sort of maintenance that's required. And lastly I'm going to be talking about the use of Earol drops, so how to insert and how to safely use the device. Okay, and if you have any sort of other problems that this video hasn't covered, then feel free to contact us and we'll be happy to answer any questions that you have. Okay, so to start with, we'll actually discuss the different types of batteries and actually changing your batteries. So to begin with, there's lots of different types of batteries for hearing devices. We start with the size 10, size 312, size 13 and size 675. So your hearing device will be compatible with one of these types of hearing aid batteries. So if you ever run out, then you can come back to us and we'll know exactly which type to give you, and you can continue to replace the batteries yourself. So I'll just move these out of the way because these are actually the most common ones. So the size 10, they fit the in-the-ear hearing aids, and the size 312 are the most common type of behind-the-ear battery type. So what you basically do to open up the case is just pull the tab at the back, and then out pops a battery. And you can see here on the screen, hopefully, that basically there's a small plastic tab. And how to activate the battery, you basically pull the tab off and it's air activated, so then it will start to charge your device and your hearing aids will start to work. So I'll show you basically how to change the battery on an in-the-ear device this time. So the concept is exactly the same for a behind-the-ear hearing aid. You just open up the casing. So this is a small in-the-ear hearing aid. You open up the casing, the battery drawer, you see the old battery. You take out the old battery, and that leaves you with essentially an open hearing aid. Okay, so what you need to basically do to change the the battery in the hearing aid is you hold onto the plastic tab. You insert the battery so that it's basically the rounded edge is in line with the groove on the face of the actual battery drawer, and then you can hold it and basically just remove. Oh, sorry. So you can just remove the tab on the plastic. Some people also do this before. So if the tab was stuck on the battery, they'd just remove it and then just insert it into the drawer like that. So that's basically how to change the batteries. The battery drawers opening and closing is important as well because this actually acts as an on-off switch. So whenever you open up the battery drawer, that's the hearing aid switched off. Whenever you close the battery drawer, the hearing aid will now switch on. So you might have a slight startup delay on your hearing aid, which gives you a little bit of time to actually put the hearing aid in inside your ears before it switches on. But nonetheless, this is the concept. So whenever you open up the hearing aid, switches it off. Whenever you shut the battery drawer, hearing aid is now switched on and it's ready for use. So whenever the hearing aid is in your ear, we just recommend having it always battery door shut, and then whenever you take it out, just keep it open. So batteries themselves typically should last at least for around 3 to 4 days. So the size 10 battery should last for at least 3 to 4 days. The bigger batteries, so the 312s, the size 13s, the 675s, the typical life expectancy of those batteries is at least sort of 5 to 6 days, and some people even get sort of a week, at least a week. What we recommend in our clinic is actually to replace, so if one battery dies on just one of your hearing aids, is actually to replace both of the batteries on each hearing aid, because that means that they're kept in sync, and you can keep track of when you've changed the batteries on either side. So the concept is slightly different this time because they don't actually have a battery. So inside it's basically a lithium-ion rechargeable cell, which keeps its charge, and it should last for the whole day. So what we recommend is actually when the hearing aids are charging, charge them overnight, and by the time that you wake up in the morning, it should be fully charged and ready for the whole day's use. So each one of these hearing aids should last for at least sort of 13 to 14 hours, but they will require charging each day, or each night, sorry. So what you need to do to basically charge the hearing aids, I'll show you here, is this is our docking station here. So this is a docking station from Resound, and if we imagine we have two hearing aids here, so to dock them, we basically just drop them in, and this turns the hearing aids off. So the docking station acts as an on and off switch this time. So to turn the hearing aids off, imagine if these were in your ears, we take them out, we drop them in, and that switches them off. So it also puts them into charging mode. The charging, basically it will take at least sort of 3 to 4 hours for fully charging, but as soon as they're fully charged, you take them out of the docking station, and it takes a few seconds, but now they're switched on. So now you can put them into your ears and they're ready for a whole day's use. So this time it's slightly different because, as I said before, the docking station acts as an on-off switch. Okay, so the next stop is actually cleaning the hearing aids, and for that we actually recommend giving them a wipe every day, every morning. Actually giving them wipes. So I'll just show you here. So we have a pack of alcohol wipes, and you can use any sort of alcohol wipe that you have at home. Oh, sorry. So this is a fresh alcohol wipe, and what you do is basically you just rub over it like that. You just check that there isn't any wax actually inside the opening of the hearing aid. So this is the wax guard here, so it's the little white filter, and just check if there's any sort of wax around the hearing aid or inside it. So what you don't want to do is push the wax inside, because what will happen is it will just block it, which prevents sound from getting out. If you see any sort of wax, then there is a really good tool to help you get this out. So this is a device which will come with your hearing aid, and on this side here, you can see here, hopefully. So that's basically a little wax scoop. As you can see, just really gently, I'll just show you here. Oh, sorry, my finger's in the way. You can basically just scoop out any wax, just really gently, and then that gets it out. So this is a daily sort of thing, just sort of generally just wipe with an alcohol wipe, make sure that it's nice and clean, nice and hygienic. What you might find is actually that sometimes, so every 3 to 4 weeks, we say that you need to actually change the white filter. So this is actually the wax guard. If you see that this is visibly blocked with wax, and sometimes it can be easier just to replace it wholly. As soon as you see that that's sort of fully occluded, or if you notice that there's no sound coming out of the hearing aid, and then the first point of call is actually to replace the wax guard. Now I'm going to show you how to do that. So this is what we call an actual stereo stop. This is a white filter here, but there are different types of wax guards. So another one that we commonly use is the HF3 filter. So I'll show you how to use that as well. So I'll just quickly. That's great. Okay. Right. So this is a packet which they come in, and each one. Oh, sorry. Each one looks a little bit like this. It's basically got a little white wax guard here, the stereo stop, and on the other side it's got no stop. And what we do to basically take the original one off, or the used wax guard, is use the black end as the edge with no stop on. We insert it fully and we pull away, so that takes it out. We then rotate the device, so this is our fresh stereo stop, and insert fully. I then twist, and that leaves the fresh wax guard in place. So what I sometimes like to do as well is, as long as you've got a sort of clean pad of your finger, just push and check that that stereo stop is in place, because what you don't want to happen is basically for it to be loose and it to fall out in your ear. You want it to be nice and snug and fitted well. That's how to change the stereo stop wax guard. So another type of wax guard that we sometimes use is called a HF3 filter, and they come in a little packet like this. So the blue packet is for the left, and the red packet is for the right. So red for right, and then the blue is for the left. Okay, right, so to change the HF3 filter, it's slightly different this time. So you can see the filter here, it's blue, and it's in what we call an ear tip. What you need to do is, it will come with this device here, and there's two sides to it. So it's got a plastic end, blue side, and it's got a metal end, which has some sort of screws, like grooves in it, sort of indentations. It's basically the metal side that you need to remove the HF3 filter. What you do is you just finely screw. I'll just show you there. You just finely, gently screw, just a little bit, and then pull out. And you can see, hopefully, that on the edge, on the end of that metal filter, is the HF3 filter. So we then take our device, and this center part is actually what we just call a bin. So we insert into the center of the hole, and then pull away. So we'll just do that once more. There we go. Okay, we'll just put that in there that time. So that's now in the bin. Next up, we take a new fresh HF3 filter. So that's this, and we use the blue side this time. We insert, we remove, we take out, and now also again, so we insert, we take out. The HF3 filter is now on the end of the device. We have the end of the ear tip, we have the HF3 filter. We simply just put the device into it, rotate, and then again use the pad of your finger just to check that it's nicely in place. As you can see here now, this is the new the fresh HF3 filter. So it's slightly different this time, and we just basically just use the pad of your finger just to check that's nice in place. What can sometimes happen again is that the wax builds up. So again, you can use your cleaning tool, the scoop end of it, and just check that there's no any sort of wax in there. Just give it a nice gentle action there, just to scoop out any wax. Okay, so in the next section, I'll be discussing how to change the dome on the tip of your receiver. And again, so in terms of the maintenance, sometimes this can just get blocked with wax. So these domes just need to be replaced. So we'll have given you some spare domes, which you can replace. Generally, we recommend sort of every couple of weeks, 1 to 2 weeks. Just give the dome a change. Again, it keeps it nice and hygienic. So if you can imagine, this is the old dome. There might be a slight amount of wax here. We basically, there's no sort of fancy way to do this. You just pull it off. That's the old one. And now you have, if you can imagine, your hearing aid is connected to the receiver. You basically expose the seri stop, the wax guard. You take the new dome and you push it onto the end of the wax guard, the receiver, and that's now nicely connected. So as soon as it's on, just make sure it's nice and pushed on there. So one of the recommendations I would make is not to actually disconnect and connect it too many times. As soon as it's on, just leave it on, and in terms of the cleaning, just use an alcohol wipe or the cleaning tool just to go around the dome like that. So sometimes what can happen is if you take it off and put it on too many times at the same time, the actual the connection inside can loosen slightly, which means it can basically it's more likely to fall off spontaneously inside your ear canal, which is not what we want. So what I recommend is just putting it on and just leaving it on until you need a new dome. How to change the sports lock on your receiver. So the reason we actually have sports lock, I'll show you sports lock. I'll show you basically a model here, and inside here is a sports lock. So it's a thin piece of plastic that's basically connected to the receiver, and it sits inside what we call the contour of the ear. So it's a small bowl. The reason that we actually have the sports lock is that it keeps it nice and secure inside your ear, so that if there's if you're doing any sort of running or any sort of sports, you're not likely to, the hearing aid is basically impossible or very unlikely to actually come out of your ear. So a demonstration of that is actually, even if it's upside down, and it's very, very, very secure inside. If you can imagine, this is your ear, so it's very, very secure. So to actually replace so here we'll just actually show you how to insert the sports lock onto the receiver. So this is the end of the receiver. This is your sports lock. This is a fresh sports lock. So what we do is you can see a small groove there. You can see the edge, the opening of it. So we want the side with the little writing there to be on the nearest side to the actual series stop. We insert, and the actual the tip of the sports lock is actually facing down, so it's in line with the actual receiver. You can see there. So it's in line. It's pointing downwards. And what we do is we just basically push it all the way on. Hopefully you can see that there. So we push it all the way on like that, so it's all the way in. Then what I like to do is basically, so this is a straight, it looks straight now, if you can see it there. So what you need to do is basically, if it's a left or the right receiver, you basically just curve it round so that it's shaped to the edge of your, so it's shaped to the contour of your ear. So if you can imagine, this is the left. I'll just quickly do that slightly more. So what I like to do is just gently, don't be pulling anything excessively. Just gently bend it around so the sports lock is shaped. You can see now. So this is the left side. It's got a nice shape to it. And generally what will happen is, over the first few days of the sports lock being used, it'll just generally mould to the shape of your concha, to the shape of your the bowl of the ear. So that's how you change the sports lock. So after you've changed the sports lock, what you then do is put a fresh dome on. As I've already shown you, you basically just reinsert the dome over the top of the sports lock, like that, and then you've got the sports lock, the dome, receiver, and this is connected to your hearing aid. But what you generally don't need to do at all, you don't need to worry about this at all, is actually changing the receiver at all. So this is the wire that connects from your hearing aid. If you do notice any sort of problems with that, then you just can bring it back to us, and we can deal with that. In terms of changing the sports lock, and in terms of the need for a sports lock, some people don't actually like the sports lock. They can find it a little bit irritating. So in that case, you don't necessarily need to have one. It just helps with the actual fit, the security of the hearing aid. With this, very unlikely to actually come out of the ear, and it's very secure. So that's what we recommend, is having one of these sports locks. Okay, so the next video is actually going to talk about tube devices and how to re-tube a hearing aid. So not all of our patients will have these tube devices. So most, I would say most of our patients will have the receivers. This is basically a wire, but some patients will have a small plastic tube. And every so often, I'd say every 4 weeks or so, you basically need to change the tube. So we'll show you how to do that here. That's good. Okay, right, so it looks a bit like this, and what you might find over time is that the tube starts to get brittle. It basically starts to become very, very stiff, and this means that sound is not as effective at passing through the tubing. When it starts to get hard, brittle, this means that it's a good time to replace the tubing. And generally, we just recommend every 4 weeks or so, every month, change the tubing anyway. So I'll show you how to do that. We have a fresh packet of tubes here, and you'll have some tubes that we would have supplied for you. So what a tube looks like, it looks like this. It's basically got a tapered end and a non-tapered end. So what you need to do basically is, to start with, take the tubing off of your hearing aid. Okay, so that can go to the side. You then have this. This is your ear mold, and this is your old tubing. So what I do is just generally just take it out of the ear mold. So now you literally just have the ear mold exposed. I would recommend just keeping your old tubing just to actually compare for size, because otherwise you might cut the fresh tubing just to a slightly incorrect size. You just want to have the sizing exactly the same as you have done before. So keep that just for cross comparison in a few moments. So now we have our ear mold and we have our fresh tubing. Take a pair of scissors, and what I generally do is just cut this. So I have my finger, just be really careful here. So I cut this just a little bit longer, because sometimes I find that the tapered edge is just a bit on the short side. So we have it like that. So now we have a long tapered edge. We have our ear mold, and the way that we tell that the ear mold is the right way is actually through the use of this. So this is basically it's a way to insert. It's a way to actually remove the ear mold. So instead of pulling on the tubing, it's basically just a slight extension. So you can use this when you're removing the ear mold from your ear. So that has to be on the bottom there. You can see that little extension line there. So you use the tapered edge. You insert that into the top hole. If you only have one hole in your ear mold, then just insert this into the hole. You insert this as far as you can go. Let's have that there. Okay, so it might just take a little bit of pushing till it comes out the other side. Okay, so this time I'm actually going to have to cut this just a little bit more so it's thinner. Okay, right, so we've now got a very thin tapered edge. It now goes into the hole. Goes in, hopefully it should come out the other side. So we see it on the other side, so hopefully you can see that there. So there's a slight where it's come out. What I think is best to do is just gently pull, gently pull it through, because if you pull it too hard you risk it actually breaking inside. So that will mean that we have to basically redo this process again. So generally just recommend you do this, just pull it all the way through. If you have a set of like any sort of like pliers, just use the pliers on this end just to pull it through, but in this case I'll just show you what most of you will probably be doing. That's just pulling the tubing through manually. So that's what we recommend. So as soon as the tubing gets to a point where it's basically 90 degrees, like that, you can cut off with a pair of scissors, or I actually have sort of like a scalpel here. So make sure that you're doing it on a protected surface. Just find a small piece on this. So what we do is we basically just make a nice smooth cut. There we go. Also use a pair of scissors just to make sure that it's nicely cut. Okay. And now what we have is basically it's a smooth edge, and we can also pull back on the tubing just slightly so that's inside like that. And now that has been retubed. Then take our old tube and basically we can measure the length across it. So here I'm measuring, so I pinch here just to check the actual length, and then I can cut with a pair of scissors so that's the correct length for my specific ear. And then once you have this, you can reattach to your hearing aid. So we'll do that here. You can see that here, and then you insert. Oh, very sorry. You insert, and that's it there. So it's that is how to retube a tubed hearing aid. And again, so not all of you will have this. Some of you will have the receivers, but this is how to retube it, and we recommend generally doing this every sort of 4 weeks, at least every 4 weeks, doing this just to keep the tubing nice and flexible, so it conducts sound really well, and in a nice sort of state as well, a nice hygienic condition. Okay, so in the next video I'll basically be talking about Earol drops, and the reason that we actually use Earol drops is because it softens any wax that is in your ear canal, and this basically means that because it's nice and soft, it means that it's more likely to come out by itself rather than needing to be professionally microsuctioned or irrigated. So this basically keeps your ear canals nice and moisturised, any wax inside the ear canals also to be softened. So opening up the packet, and the packet that we would have given you is actually, it would have contained some instructions here. So what we recommend actually doing with the Earol drops is using it just once per week. So if you've had microsuction, any sort of irrigation, then use it the following, the evening of that procedure. But otherwise you can use it once per week. So it looks like this. You can take the tip off, and it basically leaves it the thin edge here. And what we generally recommend is using this once per week. So we actually are calling it Wax Wednesday. So it's just a really nice way of remembering to put this in your ears once a week. So once a week, 3 sprays in each ear at night. And the reason that we recommend inserting this at night is so that it basically has time to absorb during the evening, during the time that you're sleeping, the oil has time to absorb into your ear canals and soften the wax. If you were to apply this during the day, then you might find that your hearing is a bit muffled, because if this oil is sitting next to or on the eardrum, It can basically just muffle your hearing, and that's just temporary, but what we want is just to avoid that in the first place. So use this at night, once per week, 3 sprays in each ear. When you first of all get the bottle, we may have already done this for you, but basically you use this, and there's basically it's basically pressurized, so you have to click it a few times before any oil comes out, and that's it. So you can see now there's some oil that's coming out. What you need to do is put the nozzle, so each time we clean this, basically, each time you use it, basically give it a little wipe before and after nozzle, so it just keeps it nice and hygienic again. We insert it directly into the ear canal. Hopefully you can see there, so it's basically as far as it will go, so just at a nice depth, and then 3 sprays in each ear. 2, 3, 3 presses. Again, we just recommend using with a spray, with a wipe, just to clean it, so going between the ears just to keep it nice and hygienic. And you might also find that you need to use a little bit of tissue paper, or just sort of cotton ball or anything like that, just to put it at the entrance of the ear, stop it running down, any sort of oil just running down your face there. Okay, that's one side. You do the same on the other side, so insert fully, and then 3 sprays, 1, 2, 3, that's it there. Again, same thing, if you have any sort of cotton wool, just put that just on the entrance of the ear, don't sort of jam it in or anything like that, and then we just give it a wipe, like that. Okay. Now the really important thing is to never ever use any sort of earbuds, anything that goes inside your ear canals. So this is the only exception, so never ever use any earbuds, or sort of cotton buds at all. The reasoning's because actually if any wax that develops inside your ear canals, cotton buds are actually just going to push the wax in deeper into your ear canal, and whilst you think that you might actually be bringing out wax, because you might see a little bit on the surface of the cotton bud, the majority is just being pushed further and further into your ear canal, which is it means that it's not going to come out. Essentially, the ear canal, the deeper the wax goes, the less likely that is going to come out naturally.